Hello everybody, welcome back to Aurora 4X version 1.11. This is our EarthCorp campaign, and I wanted to bring you a bit of an update because I think I've decided to do something a little rash. So as promised, what I've done is I have reloaded my missiles and come back, and as you can see, we've been blowing up alien ships left and right. So I believe the last episode that I recorded, we targeted down all these small ships. And then I think I reloaded, came back, finished off the small ships we didn't finish off the first time, and killed a few of the bigger ships. Or maybe, guys, I've lost track of time. I'm not sure if this is the second time I've come back or if I've come back twice in the meantime. I think I might have done one entire missile delivery mission without you guys, and this is like the third one. You're catching the tail end of it. Anyways, in order to accelerate the process, we built up, and obviously we're still building it up, but our ordnance factory capacity on Earth, we now have, or we will soon have, 1,000 ordnance factories so that we can really pump out these missiles. I queued up like 10,000 of them. Right now we're building them at a rapid enough pace that I can kind of restock the forward base in a reasonable amount of time. So right now my ammo stocks are down to 3%. It takes about 12% total of a pallet to completely rearm 15 missile destroyers. So, which takes a few trips from the colliers, but it's not the collier capacity that's the issue. It's just we're not producing missiles fast enough. So we've got a pretty crazy missile production going on now. Anyways, that's ongoing. But what I wanted to show you guys is I've just finished unloading a bunch of missiles. As you can see, we've just destroyed almost all of their 15,000 ton class ships. I'm currently working, there's one, the Spiridonov kind of survived somehow, and so my ships, if you recall, instead of having 100 missiles, they actually have room for one extra missile. So we're shooting the last extra missile. We're hoping this will make it through PD and maybe finish off the wounded Spiridonov too. It turns out that these, the Chabanenko are the anti-missile shooting ships, because it's only as I've been destroying these ships that the numbers of these AMM volleys have been reduced. So now that we have only half of them, there's actually a decent chance some of these missiles get through. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to see what happens here. So let's play this out. Okay, the payload has been delivered. Let's go to 5-second increments. Let's see how many of the missiles survive the AMMs. It's not a lot of missiles. Oh no, they didn't have, well, let's see. Either they were out of AMMs, or for whatever reason they didn't shoot them. But there's still a little bit of PD, and the Spiridonov actually survived. Okay, so what I want to do now is we're going to approach, and we're going to engage in close combat, in close range combat. So one of the issues when fighting these NPRs is that they have like a bajillion AMMs that they're shooting at you. And no matter how good your PD is, just the sheer number of missiles is going to go through your PD screen. Now, that is part of the reason why I have armored my ship so much, because these strike cruisers with 4 or 5 layers of armor can actually take a ton of anti-missile fire. But in this case, we've whittled down their fleet so much that I feel kind of confident that we can move in close and engage the remaining ships without taking too much damage. And it'll be nice to do that for a change. We haven't really tested our beam weapons, And I just feel like doing it, and so that's why I'm recording it. So let's see what happens. So we're gonna follow, but this time we're gonna move into 150,000 kilometers. And of course we're gonna do this nice and slowly. Well, I mean, at first we're gonna do this at a reasonable speed, but once we get really close, we're going to slow things down. They do appear, well, okay, I was going to say they appear to be out of long-range missiles, or I've shot down all their long-range missile shooters. Either option is a likely explanation. All right, so as we're closing in, we're just getting better reads on their, like their engine capabilities, their signatures, and stuff like that. So the game is slowing down for that reason. But we're still, oh, I can, well, it's hard to read here for you guys. We're still 7 million kilometers out. 7.1, 6.5. 5.2 million. $4.3. All right, we are now close enough that we've actually detected. Okay, this is interesting. All right, so we have detected not only the alien population signature, but also ground forces signature. So there are 62,000 tons of ground forces. And this is what I'm scared about, is they might have some serious STO weaponry. And so we might have to pull a hasty retreat here, but we're still going to go investigate. I think the hubris of the Earth Corporation in this case is that we've destroyed them all. Let's just go finish them up with our big pew-pew lasers. So let's see how that turns out for us. Yeah, we're just getting detailed thermal readings now on these ships. Okay, so they do have some missiles left. These are the last of their AMMs that they're shooting at us, but this is definitely a number of missiles that we can handle. Now, granted, you know, AMMs are really fast, so they're extra hard to shoot down, but even if some of them get through, they don't do a ton of damage, and I think we can shoot most of them down. So it looks like, yeah, we shot down almost all of them. So we shot down 50 of them, 11 got through. So if we look at the damage report, was on the export 4, which just took a bit of armor damage. And if we look here, by the way, I never repaired the armor damage on the original armor damage it has. So this is the only ship that's taking damage. Oh, actually, some of the armor has actually gone through, so it might actually take some systems damage if more missiles land. If they keep targeting the same ship, that's definitely possible. Let's keep advancing here. Okay, more AMMs. Yeah, we're gonna have to suffer through a barrage of these AMMs. Let's see how we fare. 14 hits. Yeah, they're still targeting the export 4. Some components took damage. It says components took damage, but see, there was one penetrating hit. But apparently none of the components are damaged here, so we might have gotten lucky there. Another 30 nuclear missiles here. The armor is getting pretty shredded. No components damaged. Here come more missiles. Looks like this volley was targeted at the Export 5. And so now it has taken some damage to its armor. But you can see, like, size 1 damage missiles, you know, even if you'd have to have 6 hit in the exact same spot, and there's a large number of possible spots here. So we're weathering the storm okay so far. More AMMs coming. These were shot at the Export 4, and this one, for the first time, has actually suffered some damage to one of the beam fire controls. So let's start. I mean, this is like in an hour it might get repaired, but there's a good chance of repairing. We do have damage control, so we will press on. The Export 5 taking armor damage. The Export 4 has been the target again, and this time it took damage to its engines, amongst other things. This is what I wanted here. So we're actually going to queue up this. Well, let's see. We took damage to the engines, to 1 twin PD turret. We also took damage to the active search sensor. The one to target our beam weapons, but that's redundant in our fleet. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the engine here. But we're going to move the engine to the top of the queue. Now, because it is now, this ship is now moving at a slower speed, it has detached from the fleet. I think I'm okay with that, because what's going to happen is, well, no, because, no, actually, I think we're going to have it rejoin the fleet. And the fleet is just going to move more slowly in, because my point defense is set to final fire, not area defense. So if there is a volley that comes flying by, my guys are not going to shoot at it. Now, that does mean we're going to move in a lot slower, so maybe this is not a great decision. Well, we're moving at 4,000 kilometers per second. It's still a reasonable speed. Okay, Export 5 taking more armor damage. All right, the Export 4 took another hit. Now it's got 2 engines in trouble. What would be the in-character response? So, I think this would be more fun, I think, in terms of storytelling. You know, the first fleet that we sent here got completely annihilated, and if you'll recall, there was no effort to, there was no solidarity, right? People like just ran and did not stop to try to rescue people. Of course, they had no choice of doing it, but there was no attempt made to protect the wounded and the weakened ships that were slowed down by having their engines destroyed. Everybody just kind of made a run for it. And so I think there might be still some of that in the sense that now it's the opposite though. Instead of being motivated by fear and trying to run away, I think in this case people are motivated by greed and glory. So all these ship commanders, and I don't use that in the proper term because we have different ranks here, but the senior associate, Ryan Williams, who's in charge of the fleet, all these ships are commanded by senior associates, and they are hungry for promotions within the corporate structure. A senior associate is very low on the totem pole, if you'll recall. It's only above junior associate. So these are all senior associates. They want to make partner. And so they want to show that they were the ship that went and, secured the Asulian system for the corporation. So I think they're just going to leave the Export 4 in the dust. Because they just, sucks to be them. We're moving on to bigger and better things. I kind of like that from a storytelling point of view a bit better. Okay, Export 5, taking more armor damage. Still doing fine. Let me just show that to you. Yep. Honestly, the Export 4 was only so wounded because I never bothered to repair the armor from the first time it took damage. Okay. Looks like... Oh, the Export 4, now that it no longer has the protection of the PD screen from all the Resolutes, just ate like 60 missiles. That's what happened. So this ship is in bad shape. Almost no armor left. A lot of systems, critical systems, are being damaged. It is being picked off. It is a cruel navy, this EarthCorp navy. More armor damage on the Export 5. All right, here's a volley that's heading to the Export 4. You can guess what's about to happen. Well, the ship is still in one piece. 20 nuclear detonations. Still all on the armor. You can see why I made the armor so thick now on these ships. Even though we've destroyed so many of the defending ships here, we're taking a huge beating from these AMMs as we're trying to close the gap here. All right, the Export 4 has been destroyed, and there are some life pods, which, we'll rescue them on the way out. Okay, Export 5, taking a beating like a champion. This time, okay, still, right now, the armor is starting to look a little weakened, but there's only a few spots where there's actually any risk of getting hit by components. All right, this hit was a bit more damaging. We took damage to some weapon systems and fuel. And this time, more fuel. It appears some engines have been hit, and if you guys are students of recent history, you know what this means. Sucks to be you guys on the Export 5, because the rest of the fleet, blinded by greed, is going to make a beeline for the planet itself. get those promotions and obviously the bonuses that come with the promotion. Goes without saying. All right, Export 5 has been destroyed. The Export 6 now is taking fire. Interestingly, we finally get an update on the Chabanenko. And we now know that the Chabanenko has 16 missile launchers for size 1 missiles. Okay, we're almost there, guys. The Export 6 is... The Export 6's armor is taking hits like a champ. Let's take a look here. It's already taken a few volleys, but the armor has barely been penetrated. Oh. Huh, okay. Something happened here. Oh, geez. Okay. All right. So, all right. Here's what we got weapon damage, and we're in range now of the planet. So we're actually there, guys. Which I didn't. This was the last move in, but as you can see, all right, hang on. Let me show you the events here. Export 13 attacked by surface-based energy weapons based on a Solian A2. Range 162,400 kilometers. 14 shots, damage per hit 11. And there was a penetrating hit. And there were several penetrating hits. So let's actually look at... this was the 13. Let's look at what happened here. So it got shot. You can see here the penetrating hits, right? Energy weapons have much narrower profiles, so each of these hits is damaging components. This was devastating. All the engines were shot. Like, the ship was almost entirely crippled. So I think this is the moment where the fleet goes, whoa, hang on, turn around, guys. Or at least we got to outrange them. So we just got shot. It says the range was 162.4. Now, the range on our weapons... Let's actually just check that real quick. So if I take the Export 7... and we look here, and suppose we wanted to fire on the Chabanenko. Yeah, we could do this at 180. So let's see if we can't order the fleet to hold at 180. Now let's also, I didn't realize we were so close, but we should open fire ourselves. So what we're going to do is, we can't target, well, we could just glass the surface, but we have plans for the surface, but we are going to destroy the ships in orbit. So, because we're still getting shot by missiles. Like we can target the STO force. Okay, you know what? I know things about the game, but the EarthCorp maybe doesn't know these things about the game. So first of all, let's have the Export 6 I want to get rid of these Chebenenkos. So we're going to get... I'm curious to see how effective our lasers are going to be at maximum range. So 5, 6, 7, 8. You finish the Spiridonov. And the export 12, why don't we see what happens if we try to shoot at the STOs like this? And let's do open fire. Okay, let's see what happens. Now, in the order of battle, I'm not sure if I'm going to lose another ship before I can move out of range. Let's just see what happens. Okay, so let's parse through everything here. Okay, the spam here is we're shooting down missiles with our PD, so that's happening. Attacked, salvo, 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 salvo. We're just shooting down missiles. I think what has happened is we have moved, our movement put us out of range of both our weapons and theirs. We took a bit of damage here. Yeah, because we're barely out of range. What I'm going to do is I'm going to... Yeah, because if you see here, we're at 180, but I need to be a little bit closer to make this work. So what we're going to do is we're going to, say, follow at 175. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, so because we're at max range on our lasers, our chance to hit is virtually 0. Now, they shot us at 162.4. So, and we're taking, there's more missiles incoming. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the fleet in just a tad closer. Huh. So it looks like we got some unlucky missile fire here. So, okay, we shoot with PD, we destroy a bunch of missiles, then... Yeah. Export 6 suffered catastrophic failure and exploded. It only took like 9 penetrating hits, doing very little damage. We just got really unlucky. It must have just hit like a critical system, in air quotes, so to speak. And it just ripped through the ship and destroyed it. That's really unfortunate. Okay. Now, we are within firing range, so my weapons should be online in, I think, the next round. No, this coming round here. Oh, no, we did shoot. Okay, interesting. So we have the exports 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't know why the export 8 didn't fire. Maybe we didn't assign it something by accident, or maybe it's not part of this fleet. And yeah, that's really interesting. Okay, so I think we've learned what we can from this right now, which is all right. Our close-in weapon systems are not able to deal damage at maximum range because they're lasers. That's built into lasers, by the way. Lasers have a varying damage profile. They do a lot more damage close up than they do far away. I am trying to snipe at their ships because I know that they have a ton of STO weaponry. Or, I mean, they have enough STO to one-shot one of my strike cruisers, which is scary. So, we cannot engage at close range with our lasers. I mean, I could send in, like, suicide. Like, I could send in the frigates, maybe. But that doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's certainly not the mentality of the Earth Corporation, I think. I think the Earth Corporation likes the idea of shooting from far away and not getting hurt. These incoming missiles are really annoying and have actually caused the loss of 2 exports, right? The export 4 and the export 5, just on the approach, were taken out by the missiles. And it's entirely possible we're going to lose more strike cruisers on the way out. However, that problem will be solved because we can take out their anti-missile platforms with another round of missile volleys. So the next time we come in, we're not going to take that damage. Although our design decision to include heavily armored cruisers definitely paid off because it took a long time for the volleys of AMMs to actually kill one of these ships. Imagine if we didn't have all that armor, those ships would have been destroyed in like 2 or 3, like 2 volleys instead of the 10 or whatever that it took to take them out. And so we would have lost by now all the strike cruisers, possibly some missile cruisers or even frigates, missile destroyers or even frigates. So I'm happy with that. However, given that we're going to take out the AMMs with our own missiles, now we have like a thorny problem. We have this planet that we can't really approach because of STO elements that can really penetrate our laser. They can penetrate our armor. If I believe they were doing 11 damage, which was enough to destroy entirely that cruiser. So we're going to need to come up with a new way to finish off this combat. I mean, we have control over this system. We'll wipe out the rest of these orbital emplacements, and these aliens are not going to be able to threaten us. But how are we going to take the planet? Now, there's ground combat that's going to be involved here, but even how are we going to reduce the STO elements safely? So there's definitely a few possibilities. One possibility is switching over to using particle lances instead of lasers. Particle lances do less damage than lasers, but they do their full damage at their entire distance, and they have a longer range. So they seem to be particularly well suited for this task. But just firing at STOs from orbit is pretty imprecise and risks damaging a lot of the infrastructure of the planet. And I think there's a notion in the corporation that we want to do this as surgically as possible because we're greedy. We want the infrastructure. We want the planet. And so I think we have to combine that with some kind of invasion. But that might be, we'll see. I think maybe that's a gradual process because that's going to take a long time to organize all of that. And I think there's definitely room for a particle lance based weapons platform to come in and take some shots at the STOs. And so I'm going to, that might be the next evolution here, while in the background we're working on, you know, how we could send ground troops here safely, and then like what kind of ground troops those are going to be, and all of that. So I think right now what we need to do is we need to get out of here. So what the Uvina Fleet 2 is going to do is they're going to go grab the life pods from the 6, the 5, and the 4, and then head on out. The export 13, well, tough luck. You just try, you do your best. So we're going to take some missile fire on the way out, as expected. So let's do that. Oh, wait, did I not? I added the order. My bad. Life pods. Because we still weren't moving. Okay, let's start getting out of here. The export 13 was destroyed. This was the ship that was hit by the STO weapons. Okay. Oh, my ships are still attempting to fire. We need ceasefire all. Alright, the Export 7 has detached from the fleet. It has been slowed down enough. But again, this is the EarthCorp Navy. We don't stick around to save our friends. We run for our lives. I mean, they should still try to run. They didn't make it. That's too bad for them. Looks like the Export 9. So to be perfectly clear here, we are role-playing this, which is why we are, you know, letting our ships get... by leaving our ships to fend for themselves, we are accelerating their demise because we're leaving them out of the protective shell of our PD umbrella, and so it is much easier for them to get picked off by the aliens. I just think it's sort of consistent with our theme here. The Export 9's engines have all been knocked out. It's trying to desperately repair one of its engines. Alright, the Export 10 almost made it out of missile range. Not quite. Oh, still has one functioning engine. Nope, engine's crippled. And the ship is destroyed. And that's it. We've made it out of AMM range. So that whole excursion has cost us all but 2 of our export class strike cruisers. And so it turns out that for this kind of operation of, assaulting a planet, that ship design was entirely inappropriate, right? It's meant to be sort of a deep space brawler, but in terms of, sieging a planet, not quite what we want. And now, to be fair, it was targeted because it was a large target, and I guess the aliens decided to prioritize that. They could have destroyed a huge number of the Resolutes if they had wanted to, but they instead chose to shoot down these. So we lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 strike cruisers, which is pretty. That's 140,000 tons. Now we inflicted much more damage, and we're going to come back and we'll shoot down the rest of these AMM shooting ships. So part of the story here is there was greed, right? They thought that they could go in and finish off. That's what I'd like to think, right? The commanding officers on these ships thought that the missile destroyers had destroyed enough of the AMMs, of the AMM shooting ships, that they could go in, shoot the rest down with their lasers, and contain the planet. And, get their foot in the door for the loot and bounty that would come from taking the planet in the future. But it turns out that even 4 ships shooting AMMs is enough to completely wreck our incoming fleet, for one thing. And for another, they were not at all able to hold on to the planet because it turns out they have really nasty STO guns pointing at space, and we have no way to shoot at them. So, between now and the next episode, I will come up with a way to shoot at them, and we'll see what we can pull off. So I'll see you guys then. Take care.